Perfect timing.
Yeah, gross. Okay. We'll call the Central Lincoln County School Board meeting to order at 6 o'clock on April 2nd, 2025. We have myself, Christian Coates from South Bristol, June Dunfeld from Bristol, Wayne Farland from Jefferson, and Matt Benner from Nobleboro, all present and accounted for. Everybody rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gotta be quicker, June.
Any adjustments to the agenda?
Does the agenda have the executive session that we added on there?
It does.
It does, okay. So that was the only thing I was going to have to add was the executive session. We've got two.
So you didn't want to put new business before the executive session?
Because new business, some of the executive session
Got it.
stuff has something to do with new business.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
I think you're right down to your old business, your bus contract. Yes, I think you're right down to your old business.
Well, we have to ask if there's any public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Public here.
No public comment.
I'll just sit here and be quiet.
We approved the minutes from the last meeting on March 5th. Maybe make a motion.
Move.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor? Great. Unanimous. Any communications or correspondences, Todd?
Nope.
Our chair is absent and the vice chair has nothing special to report. Superintendent's report?
Nope.
So we're moving on to the first student transportation agreement review and approval.
Copies are down there to Matt's left.
Everybody has
Wayne has one, I think, but I don't know. No, everybody needs one if they'd like.
Is there an extra one for Kathy?
Yep.
Sure.
Thank you.
There's,
You have one.
there's 10
I
of them.
can give it.
Please.
I've got
Got
one.
it? Okay.
I can give it.
So, long story short, except it wasn't a blink of an eye. I gave them the paragraph you wrote and they said, fine, and put it in and sent it back and said, there it is. Like,
The paragraph they took out.
and they took out 11.3.
And which one is this, please?
So section 10 is the paragraph written by the board and section 11.3 was deleted.
Because,
It was in their favor.
um,
Everything worked
Considerably.
in their favor if anything ever were to occur, and there was no protection on our end.
so the 11.3 is gone and the
Yeah.
new one is
10-1.
10.1. Thank you.
So now we've kind of just made it a neutral.
Yeah.
Right? It works both. The same thing works both ways.
An equal playing field.
Right.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
That's that.
There's no moss on this stone. Okay, so we're going into executive
Need
session.
a motion.
According to MRSA 405, section 6E.
So move.
Second.
Now, are we coming back
You
from
can come
executive
back.
session or will this be?
Yeah, you just got to go to another one.
But then is there anything else to do?
Just the conversations we're going to have about the AOS and the interlocal agreement.
So, okay, so
New business.
you might want to stick around. Those would be interesting if you have time.
Okay.
But we have to
Yeah, I
do this
have
again.
about an hour, so we'll see.
Okay,
I'll,
Do you know-
I'll wait for that. And
yeah,
see.
I don't think it'll be an hour, but do you know the way around? You want a place to hang out? I'll show you a place to hang
Sure,
out.
that'd be great.
We
6:05.
stopped recording at
6:05. Okay.
We voted to go in.
You did.
Should we vote to go all in?
I thought you did.
We had a motion
Yeah,
and a
both.
second. We didn't, all those
Oh,
in
okay.
favor?
Junior in favor of
You in favor
executive.
going into executive session?
Yes, sorry. I was reading the
Okay, so
particulars.
we're going
of
in
the
at
bus.
6. And we're back. New business, AOS 93 Central Office Lease Agreement.
Just the board was updated on the status of the lease agreement and been brought up to speed. And we have our marching orders.
Thank you for that. Interlocal agreement.
The only question I have about this is we're going to have to look at it a lot closer, and I'm going to go over it more thoroughly. And the board may already know, I spoke with Lindsay about it this morning. I'm just not sure if there is language in the local agreement that has to be changed with the 3 towns leaving. I do know that I have shared with some of your boards, I don't know if I shared it with all of them, the thought of maybe having 2 board members from each town on the AOS board. just a thought. I do know that the interlocal agreement specifically says one. So if we were going to do something like that, the interlocal agreement would have to be changed. The interlocal agreement to be changed, it needs a 2/3 vote by this board, but it also needs to go to public vote. So the thought process was that unless it's something that needs to urgently be changed, we could wait to make the changes official until the AOS budget vote. So then you'd already have a collection of the community members there for that AOS budget vote, and they could vote then for the local interlocal agreement.
If we made a change at that budget meeting, would those changes then be effective the following budget year, like in July 1?
Or
would they
effective
be
immediately.
I think that would be the board could determine that.
Sorry. You ready?
Uh,
Or you have
we would
something?
only have to send it out to the voters if we amended it. To
Correct.
change, to make it reflect the accuracy, like removing the name Great
Right.
Salt Bay in those towns and relabeling the cost share or
Yep.
voting, redoing the structure, voting formula
Yep.
to reality. That wouldn't have to go out to the voters because
Correct.
there's no way the voters could approve or disapprove
Right, right.
that. The Department of Education already did all that and forces it. So we're not amending it, we're just updating it for accuracy.
Okay.
That's the difference. If you did want to change the other things, then it would be an amendment and you have to go through that process. What's your thoughts on the reasoning behind having 2 board members?
I just thought, 4 is not a big number, so I just thought it might
But
be
it's a
better.
good workable number.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Because when you start putting 4 more people around this table,
Mhm.
that's almost theoretically doubling the length of your meetings because there's gonna be a
Good.
lot more discussions
Yep.
to a certain degree. And only one of them is really still gonna be able to vote because the vote
Is weighted.
is representation of the town.
Mhm.
That
So,
was my question when Todd mentioned this the other night, like how complicated does that make the weighted vote, especially if, 2 people show up from Bristol, but only one person shows up from Noblesboro.
Well, the
and
weighted vote stays the same because it's by
Right,
population.
but what if what if your 2 Noblesboro people?
Vote against each other?
Yeah.
Now you don't get a vote.
only one
Right.
could be, only
Right.
one. could
Well,
be-
or do we
Basically-
count, do we count 50% of Noblesboro's share
it-
one way and 50%?
It would actually, for it to actually work, it would just be 8 people will be on the board, only 4 people do the voting. So basically, 4 of them are just there to listen.
Right.
You could have 8 vote. I mean,
But
I've
even
had
if you
that.
have 8 vote, 2 Noblesboro.
They counter
residents
each other out.
We counter each other out, so
Yeah.
actually Noblesboro gets no vote if we don't agree,
Correct.
right? So I would rather not take that gamble and not. However you want me to put it, but that's the best way to put
I
it.
don't see. the
Chris?
reason
You don't have to.
for
It was just a thought.
I don't like risk.
I would actually like to think about this because I think there are pros and cons to both.
It's not a decision you have to make
You know,
today.
it's No,
I've just
there's
got to
no
look, like
rush,
Wayne
right?
said, I've just got to look and see is there anything that has to be drastically changed in the interlocal agreement, or is it just a matter of
I don't think anything.
retooling?
has
You
to
probably
be-
already looked at that when you went
Yeah,
through your
nothing has
process.
to be changed because it's basically a structure of how it works and what services it provides. That's all it
Okay.
is. The only thing that's gotta change is some names are gonna be removed
Yep.
and the voting formula has to be.
And that couldn't be done
for
till
accuracy.
July 1st anyways.
that interlocal agreement sits within the AOS
It's right on the
files,
website.
right?
Yeah, and it's on the website
It's
too,
on
if you want to
the
go and see it.
I was
Okay.
looking at the website today. You know what's not on the website? The AOS board.
But
Really?
Board members.
Right.
We don't have a communications director, and
I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying.
there are things about our website that you could go on
Yeah.
forever about.
Yeah.
We just don't. When we moved into the new website platform, Linda's able to load files that are downloadable, but she can't repackage the pages. And I've been talking to the tech team about trying to get some of them to support some of that. And John Armentrout, who's helping us with Aptifun, and John Koff, who's working on the Bristol construction building right now, both said, send me what you want when you have time and I'll try to help you out. But I got to get through this budget season. But then I'd love this committee's input, anybody's input on what we should do with that site. And then maybe over the summer, get those tech guys when they're a little less busy, because they can get in there and play with it. And
Yeah.
they have the aptitude and the time. And I could lay out I could synthesize what we all want to see on it. I'd like a whole business. I'd like to get our financials up there in a way that are way better than what we're doing now, just putting budgets up. We should be able to kind of like put out every version for every, there's a lot I know that can be done with that. But it's, with our current staffing and skill set in the central office, it's a little bit out of reach. But that's, again, we move into the way we stipend to this tech team and get some other things done. I think we can get there.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we want to make a commitment to looking at over the interlocal agreement next time?
I'll just do that out of due diligence if you.
Okay, so future planning.
Yeah, the AOS, moving forward, the 93, just unless I hear objections from this committee, the plan is, as I said when we got here, Peter and I have been talking about it, is to move forward, making the AOS work as efficiently and as effectively as it can as a collective group. And I know there's discussions. I know Bristol and South Bristol having some conversations about things, but that's kind of what we hear. One of the things that we do, if we're looking to move forward, you can do what's called the future search, where you get stakeholders, a large number of stakeholders around the table just to have discussions and pick their brains about a variety of things. And then you create a strategic plan. And your strategic plan, the AOS strategic plan, has come to its extinction, if you will. It's ended. But because of the pandemic, the plans were allowed to just continue on. But that is something that we'll have to work on as a strategic plan as well. So my goal is to, as we said, make the AOS as effective and efficient as it can be. And that's the way I'm going to approach it, unless someone says, well, hey, we're thinking about doing this or we're doing that. So just so this board knows, because this is the board that will be responsible for that, that's my plan. One of the things I do think we need to look at, Peter's going to put together some when he gets his free time, he's going to put together some numbers for me. If you were to look at special education, it is driving budgets all 4 towns. It's not just, some are more significant than others. And I know there's been talk about ways that we can regionalize that. There was some regionalized program that went away. As we talked about earlier with a new staff person coming on board at some point, that might be a good opportunity to have discussions about what's been done elsewhere and things of that nature. How can we best utilize, because we know there's a short amount of individuals in the special ed realm to employ. Is there a way we can create something that would be beneficial to the AOS as a whole and each individual school? I do know that there was some concern about things like travel and stuff like that with the specialized programs before. I really think you would need 2 regions in your own AOS. I think you would need
Travel
one
means
side of Route
students
1.
getting to
Yes.
the services
I
they
think you
need.
would need something on one side of Route 1 and something on the other side of Route 1. But I can't tell you right now what that may or may not look like. But that's something we need to look into. I know there was discussion about the Educational Service Center in the past. Is that something we want to explore down the road? Maybe not right now because of the dust is still settling, but you could have something like it doesn't have to be the whole kit and caboodle. It could be an ESC for, we could call it something else if you want to do an RSC or something for.
Well, we could do that, but you have to be
It does have to be. Okay. Thanks. For special education, and someone's mentioned buildings and grounds. Perhaps, or
special ed and
transportation.
transportation go nicely together because
Yep.
there's so much special ed transportation ties in. So you say those are the 2 services, and then they can be done more in this sort of ESC model of regionalized things can move from school to school and go where they're needed at any time. That's a nice fit, and so we could look at that.
But just a thought. I'm just trying to inform the board what I see as we start July
I do
1st
think
as a
it would
different
be-
entity.
I do think it would be beneficial for the AOS to have a structured set of goals that we are aiming at.
Now, whether this group designs those or you go out to your boards and pick their brains and come back, and that's something we can talk about.
I think you'd have to start from special ed director here,
Mhm.
position with the suggestions.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because of the needs and
Mm,
stuff,
yep.
and then it could go out.
Yep.
And then that could come back.
One of the things I like to show this new special ed director when they get here is take an Excel file and just, you guys know it, take the special ed section out of each of your budgets and roll them up with all your transportation below and all these hidden people, the occupational therapists and physical therapists and speech therapists and everything that are
Not
on the
hidden, not
Bristol-
very apparent,
What's that?
not easily apparent.
Right.
Well,
Well,
They're buried in budgets and multiple lines, and just say, here's your $6 million special ed program, which is
That's a
what
guesstimate number two.
pretty close though.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, how do
How
we
do we
make this
rein it
thing
in?
work? How do we make it work? Because it's a big program when you look at it like that. I feel like the way I was shown this when I got here 3 years ago, and the way Kelly was showing it when she got here, was that look at all these isolated pieces, and then you have compass and pathways which don't exist anymore, and it's like that's shattered. We need it. I think Kelly has done a remarkable job, and she's a colleague I will miss as a professional very much. But I also think fresh set of eyes with a veteran person, that if we can hire one of these people that can come in and look at the whole picture put right in front of them, that's gonna, if we can, I think I said this to you the other day, we need to solve that problem and then become any kind of entity that solves the problem. Not say, let's be this entity and then start
Look at
looking
that
at
problem
it, go the other way around. Solve what will solve this problem and become that. That's my 2 cents on it. But I think that special ed is the driving. Everything Todd's saying, I've talked to him, but I support him 100% on this. This is what needs to get done. But special ed is where you start, because if you can't make special ed work, it doesn't matter what you do with anything else. It's what's kind of like driving us over a cliff right now. So start with special ed with this new director, like Wayne said, and get it going.
It'll be a work in progress.
It is going to be work. It's going to
For a
take some
long
time,
time.
but
But it's all right.
Yep.
We're gonna have some workshops on it when we get
Oh,
to
yeah.
that point, different things.
there's a whole, when you do a future search or when you do a strategic plan, it's a very structured
Right.
process.
The
There are some costs associated with it too, so I'll probably
Right.
have to build something in the AOS budget moving
But
forward
we're
for that.
also gonna have to realize that, there may be some aspects to it that we just can't solve.
Well, that's it. At the end of the day, you got a crisis in special ed, but you can come up with the best way to respond to it. You can't solve the problem, the source of the problem, but you can come up with your best approach to how to deal with the fact that that problem exists.
Right.
And I don't think we're there yet. I'd like to get there. I think Todd's got the right path to get to that point.
if you have to go.
Well, we're going to wrap up here anyways. I just wanted to share that with the board, and if the board had any objections or ideas, but we'll keep you up to
Thanks for your
speed.
Nice to
enthusiasm.
meet
Thank
everyone.
See ya. To you.
So, okay, if there's nothing more for the good of the order, we'll call it adjourned at
7.
7:03.
That's not bad.